right, guys, looking forward to that. And having fun here at Rupp Arena in Lexington with Jay Billis, Shannon Swig. I'm Dan Shulman. Number 6, Texas. Number 1, Kentucky. 2 undefeated teams really having at each other here tonight. Very physical. A ton of great athletes with great size on the floor. A lot of fouls in this game because of the physical nature of the game. As Yancey, the sophomore from Richardson, Texas, knocks down both and ties the game. Right now is the game plan for Rick Barnes. Try to get through to halftime. He's got some guys on the bench with 2 fouls. And some key guys on the bench with 2 fouls. Just try to stay where it is right now and get to the half.
Yeah, if you can steal these last 3 minutes and go into the half tied or better, it's either a jump ball or a walk.
It's a walk.
But look how poorly that Kentucky has played on the offensive end. And you give a lot of credit to Texas's defense, because Texas defense has been really, really tough. But Kentucky's shooting 28%. I mean, 28%. And they're tied.
And getting out rebounded by a more than 2-to-1 margin.
Yeah. Texas has 9 offensive rebounds. Kentucky's got 9 rebounds total. And this has not been a great performance by the Wildcats, but they're still tied.
eBay has it go through his fingertips. It remains with Texas after they get a couple of looks at it.
I'll tell you, Texas has to feel, they're not going to feel any better until they get to halftime, get through this last 2:43 of the first half. But to have as many fouls as they've had, they've coughed the ball up 12 times. I mean, they've turned it over 12 times. I don't think Texas has played very well either.
And again, from a Kentucky point of view, John Calipari's gone away from the platoons for about the last 10 or 11 minutes. Probably a combination of who's not playing well and the foul trouble that they have. There's another offensive rebound, and Dakari Johnson commits the foul. That'll be his 3rd. So Lyles has 3 and Johnson has 3. And maybe for the first time all season, Jay, the relentless depth that Kentucky has is being tested a little bit.
It is being, well, the size is being tested, and the physical nature of Kentucky is being tested. Because really what's happening is Texas is hitting first, and they're hitting hard. Now, they've picked up some fouls as a result of it, but they've established that it's when the ball goes up, it's game on.
And if Rick Barnes had anybody other than his worst free throw shooter at the line more often than anybody else in the game, eBay now 2 for 8. I mean, he's playing his tail off, but he is not a good free throw shooter. And it remains tied.
Kentucky's got to get some penetration into the gaps. They are just throwing the ball around the perimeter and trying to get some interior screening. You've got to penetrate these gaps.
Harrison, no look pass. Poitras over eBay to give the Wildcats the lead. Here comes Holland. And he's fouled. It's Andrew Harrison.
There's really no reason for Kentucky to reach. And if you can steal it, fine, but those were just wild reaches to try to get a steal on a guy who's trying to take the ball back out.
We've had a total of 25 fouls called in the game, 11 of them on Texas, 14 on Kentucky.
Well, really the biggest play of the game has been that flagrant foul on Jonathan Holmes. It put Holmes out of the game, and then it basically gave Kentucky new life, because they had been really stagnant in this first half.
At the time of that play, it was a 6-point lead for Texas. It's now tied, 24-24, nearing the final 2 minutes of the first half here at Rupp.
Token pressure in the backcourt, a 1-1-3 set back to the 2-3 zone.
Ulis, that might have been a pass for Cauley Stein. And back come the Longhorns. Yancey getting a lot of minutes tonight. Can't finish the layup, but he gets it back.
One of the few times that Texas has been able to play ahead of the Kentucky defense.
Yancey again. And swatted away. That's exactly what you talked about. Trying to take it all the way to the rim by yourself is asking for trouble.
An initial drive where it's 2 or 3 dribbles, you're just giving too much time for these shot blockers to come over from the weak side and wipe that away. You can draw those shot blockers, then kick it out. I think the second pass is where you can hurt Kentucky, making that second pass out of penetration for an open shot. Now, it's easier said than done, obviously. But
here's Felix. And it rolls off the rim to Cauley Stein.
Good job by Poitras to make him finish that.
Aaron Harrison Left it short, and it will be Texas ball as Poitras goes tumbling into a row of photographers on the baseline.
I don't know why Aaron Harrison wanted to pull the trigger on that. If you get something in transition that you can get to the rim so you can beat that zone down the floor, but that was a horrible shot. And now all of a sudden, after having the ball for 2 or 3 seconds, now Kentucky's going to have to play 30 seconds of defense. That shot by Harrison put no pressure on the Texas transition defense. And really, Kentucky's offense hasn't put a ton of pressure on Texas's defense.
Holland to a wide open Lammert. Well executed by the Longhorns to take the lead.
Well, that's the penetration that will get you an open shot. Penetrate to pass, and you will find yourself a good open shot. The question is, can you make them? And so far, Connor Lammert has done that.
And John Calipari will use a timeout. Sunday, the selection committee's final rankings will be revealed. Find out who is in the College Football Playoff Selection Show, presented by AT&T, Sunday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
Well, it allowed Kentucky to get some easy baskets. Obviously, the easy free throws by Karl Anthony Towns, but then the jump shot that he hit, and then in transition. And other than that, when they've been in the half court, nothing easy has been Kentucky.
Another jump hook for Cauley Stein to tie it, yet Texas has weathered the storm. They've got the ball and can hold for the final shot here in the first half as the crowd gets to its feet here at Rupp.
Well, Texas has made this a 20-minute game now.
Oh, and a turnover. A pass through the hands of Yancey.
Yancey fell down as he was coming out to the wing, and Felix just couldn't pull that ball back. Nobody's there to inbound the ball for Kentucky.
Five seconds. Aaron Harrison. Lammert down with a rebound. And the first half will come to a close in a tie between these two highly ranked and undefeated teams. It was interesting. It was physical. And it was intense. 26-26 at halftime between Texas and Kentucky. Shannon Spake is with John Calipari.
Coach, the one thing that really stands out in this first half is a lack of rebounding. How do you improve?
I'll show you all 10 of them. It's the blue platoon that will start, but of course the white will get their minutes as well. Nobody averaging more than 22 minutes per game thus far this year for the Wildcats. With more on tonight's big matchup, let's send it over to third member of our team, Shannon Spake.
Well, Dan, a primary focus for Kentucky in practice this week was all about speed. Two reasons. Number one, like Jay just mentioned, they know this Texas team is going to try to set the pace, particularly in transition, and Kentucky must.
And Texas getting ready to go here at Rupp. It'll be Karl Anthony Towns and Cameron Ridley. Our officials are Doug Sermons, Don Daly, Lee Cassell, and we are underway as two players tumble to the court right off the tip, and Kentucky gets the first possession of the night.
It just showed how physical this game is going to be. DeMarcus Holland and Aaron Harrison just go right down to the ground.
Harrison the lob, and that's what Texas is trying to prevent more than anything else, is Kentucky being able to throw the ball up to the rim.
Well, they want to play 5-on-5 in the half court and force challenge jump shots.
Ridley knows both teams will ferociously attack the offensive glass. Aaron Harrison knocks down the mid-range jumper.
And that's where he has improved a great deal from last year. Nice shot fake. Got past a really good defender in DeMarcus Holland and went straight up and down. That was really well done.
And Cameron Ridley getting a little bit too physical with Karl Anthony Towns. And Ridley is called for an early foul.
Well, Rick Barnes wants his team to be physical, but you still have to be smart. Where he'd really like him to be physical is when a shot goes up, you get a physical blockout, because, Dan, this Kentucky team is really phenomenal on the offensive glass. They get almost half of the missed shots for second shots.
Right now, Poitras down to the post. Holmes defending him. Andrew Harrison using the screen, missing the three. And down with the rebound is DeMarcus Holland. Outstanding defender for Texas, and a guy who plays as hard all the time as any player that Rick Barnes says he's ever coached.
Hard worker, as we mentioned, an excellent individual defender, especially on the ball. And the referees are really watching the post. That's the second foul called in the post in as many possessions down on the Texas end.
And this one was on Towns of Kentucky. These are two huge teams. The front court of Kentucky is bigger than every NBA front court with the exception of Portland. And Texas isn't much smaller.
Willie Cauley-Stein, the junior big guy for Kentucky, is guarding Jonathan Holmes, the three-man for Texas.
Poitras with a rejection.
Cauley-Stein is an excellent defender. Guarded LaDontae Henton, a three-man, and a good wing. Good pass.
Great feed inside, and Holmes is fouled on the feed from Ridley.
So Cauley-Stein just turned his head. And a really nice cut by Jonathan Holmes, who has really retooled his body. He's a different player this year than he was his first three.
He's lost about 20 pounds, gotten stronger as well. And remember, he hit the game-winning shot against UConn just last week, a corner three with time running out. And a guy who can play the 3 and the 4. When Texas wants to go big, he plays the 3. On occasion, Jay, you may even see him, because of his extended range shot, he may even play the 2 a little bit for Texas.
And really on offense, doesn't matter what position we call him. It really matters as to who you guard.
Coast to coast, Andrew Harrison, no, Holmes the rebound.
There's what Shannon Spake was talking about, trying to push the ball up the court. Wasn't the best look that Andrew Harrison could have gotten, and no offensive rebounding on that one.
Right now, Poitras on Felix. As Kentucky scramble to get back and just find anybody.
Good defense by Aaron Harrison.
Staying right with Holland. Still plenty of time to shoot. Lambert, a very good passer as a forward. Holmes will step back. Holmes will spin inside. Tap back out, and a fresh 35 now for the Longhorns.
That's really the area of the court where I think Texas can get some shots, that mid-range area. If you're going to try to get it all the way to the basket against these shot blockers, it's going to be tough. If you can drive it and then pass it out.
Is that Ridley again? Cameron Ridley just picked up his second foul within the first 3 minutes of the game, and that's going to send him to the bench.
Yeah, you have to adjust. It's the same official that's called all 3 fouls down in the post, so clearly he's watching that. And look, there's contact that goes on in the post, but Cameron Ridley just throwing a little bit too much into it.
And so Miles Turner, the outstanding freshman from Bedford, Texas, 6'11", 240, the second highest rated incoming recruit in the country, according to the ESPN 100. What does he bring?
Well, he's an excellent shot blocker and a really good rebound. He plays about 20 minutes a game, very productive in that time, and a very skilled player, but still learning how to play.
Andrew Harrison will step in and commit the foul. Texas went zone in that first possession with Turner in the game.
Well, and they're going to play a lot of zone tonight. And I think when you play against Kentucky, the hard part in playing zone is blockout responsibilities. But you want Kentucky to shoot jump shots. And if you can keep them out of the lane by showing zone, I think you're going to see a fair amount of it from Rick Barnes tonight.
So an early blow for the Longhorns with Ridley on the bench with 2. Holmes open in the corner. The assist to Lambert.
That's what we were talking about before, Dan. The drive into the lane and then kicking it out for an open shot. And Kentucky's got to do a much better job of staying with Jonathan Holmes. He's hitting 50% from that three-point line. That's his 15th three on the season.
Cauley-Stein is fouled on his way to the rim.
Anytime that you can put pressure on the rim, you don't have to do it to score, but it draws defenders. Karl Anthony Towns comes in, and he's deep into the lane. Then he's got to close out all the way to the corner. And Jonathan Holmes spaces to that three-point line and is wide open and ready to shoot when he catches it. That was a great play and well executed by Texas.
The foul was on Turner, his first. And at the line now for Kentucky, Willie Cauley-Stein. Suffered that ankle injury at the end of last year, missed the end of the NCAA tournament as Kentucky made it all the way to the national championship game. And Turner, who picks up the 1 foul, immediately goes to the bench. And Prince Ebay is into the game, more size, a 6'10 junior, known for his ability at the defensive end of the floor.
Well, smart move by Rick Barnes. You don't want your freshman picking up another foul while you're kind of feeling out this game, and the referees are trying to establish control of it and calling some fouls that, frankly, they may not call later on.
And with the ball screen for Felix, got the switch.
And Kentucky, because they've got similarly sized players and super athletes on the perimeter, they can switch everything. They can even switch with Willie Cauley-Stein on their guard.
And look at the length of Poitras up at the top, bothering Felix. So Felix will launch one. And another offensive rebound for Texas. Nearly thrown away by Lammert.
Aaron Harrison leaked out instead of sticking around to go after that rebound. If Kentucky leaks out, they take away an advantage.
That's off the leg of Holmes, and that's going to be a turnover. First time out of the night, 4:14 in here at Rupp. Texas and Kentucky tied in the early going.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball.
Platoon is on their way out. You know, this platoon style, it doesn't only help in game. These guys in practice, I watched them yesterday, extremely competitive as they do a lot of scrimmages. But it was the players that really had to buy in for this whole thing to work. And Andrew Harrison told me, didn't think it would last this long, but he said, we're winning, aren't we?
They sure are. 7-0 is Dakari Johnson, who comes off the bench, Jay. One of the most improved players we've seen this year, and gives the Wildcats the lead.
Much more mobile. His footwork is really good in the post, and he gets deep post position where he doesn't have to make some fancy post move. And he is leading this team in free throw attempts largely because he gets the ball in an area where he gets fouled. And with this platoon, this is the pressing platoon, so they'll put on full court pressure, go 94 feet. So the point guard Tyler Ulis can really get up underneath the point guard and make it difficult. So a totally different look you have in this next platoon.
Same group on the floor out of the timeout for the Longhorns.
And that's a good job by Marcus Lee to extend that catch by Connor Lammert. And they can catch it further out.
Forgiving Kendall Yancey is into the game now for Texas, number 0. Great work on the offensive glass. That's been a strength in the early going tonight here for the Longhorns.
Some of the rebounds have been longer rebounds. That one near the bucket. Prince Ebay going after it with both hands. Another big man with long arms. Now, Texas is an excellent offensive rebounding team as well, just not as prolific as Kentucky.
The foul was on Trey Lyles, the freshman. And Miles Turner's getting ready to check back into the game for Texas.
Well, it's funny, Dan, when you've got so many good big guys, sometimes the guards and wings I say, well, the big guys will grab the rebound. I can go early. And that's really what's been happening with Kentucky. They've been leaking out early and not sending all 5 guys to the defensive glass.
And already for Texas, they've got 4 offensive rebounds in less than 5 minutes of action. As Lammert goes to the bench, and Turner checks back in. And Ebay, you can see a lot of hang time on those free throws, but he gets the bounce on the second. He's now 4 for 11 from the line this year.
2-3 zone. They were in a tandem early to slow the advance.
And a turnover.
Just a poor pass. The cutter wasn't expecting it. And Kentucky nowhere near as proficient offensively in their zone offense as they are in their man offense. Which is true of most teams. Yeah. That's why you're surprised that more teams don't play zone.
That's why Syracuse hasn't come out of it for so many years. Holland, nice pass, and a slam by Ebay.
If you drive, you're going to draw defense and draw some help. And you've got to be ready to kick it. If you're going to try to finish on your drive, it's going to be awfully difficult to finish amongst the trees. But if you kick it out or drop it off, you got a chance.
That's knocked away again. Remember, Kentucky isn't the only team with great size and length out here tonight. Texas is big as well. Johnson kicks it back out. Kentucky fumbling the ball around, and they lose it. Here's Holmes. And he will lay it in to put the Longhorns up by 3.
Those are the kind of buckets that Texas needs through the course of this game. Can you play ahead of the Kentucky defense?
A couple of highly ranked, unbeaten teams. Johnson, off balance, draws the foul, and will shoot a couple.
That was a great screen on the interior by Marcus Lee. Set a little screen on the middle of the zone and allowed Dakari Johnson to jump out in front and get post position.
Johnson to the free throw line for Kentucky. The foul was on Ebay. So among the Texas bigs, Ridley picked up 2 early ones. Turner's got one. Ebay's got one. And now Rick Barnes has gone to his 9th man. Jay, Jordan Barnett, a 6'6" freshman from St. Louis, a guy he told us last night and this morning they got to get him in there. They got to figure out a way to work him into the rotation. What does he need to do to stay on the floor?
Well, he needs to be tough and physical without fouling because he's smaller. He's only 6'6".
That's him in the corner. Misses the long three, long shot, long rebound.
And right now, Texas just a little more alert and quicker to the ball. But that's where this platoon system works as well. You pick up a lot of fouls on the opposing big guys. And you've got big guys galore if you're Kentucky that you can put into the game. You can wear teams out with your depth, and you can foul them out with your depth.
And eBay just picked up a foul on Dakari Johnson. Now, John Calipari has never said it's going to be this way every minute of every game all season. If he needs to come out of it, he'll come out of it. They haven't been tested all that much. They have been demolishing most of their opponents. The closest game they've had this year was a 19-point win over Buffalo. They beat BU, Boston University, by 24. They blew out Kansas by 32. Yancey struggling to maintain possession. eBay let the ball bounce away from him, giving Kentucky an opportunity. And it's going to be an offensive foul on Trey Lyles. Number 2 on Lyles.
You know, it's funny, Dan, when talking about this platoon system, you know, it's almost like people want for Kentucky to blow everybody out in the first 3 minutes. It's like if you went to a prize fight and you don't get a knockout in the first 2 rounds. You know, there's a cumulative effect to this, just like there are body punches in a fight. And so far this season, everybody that they've played, they have ultimately knocked out. But you can't expect them to knock them out right away. And I think as the season goes along, Kentucky's going to get more proficient and better on the offensive end. And that's when you're going to see a much better team, because defensively they're going to be really good all year.
Kentucky's number 1 in the nation in fewest points allowed and opponent's field goal percentage, and Felix was just called for the offensive foul. You got to earn your real estate bringing the ball up the court against this group, especially, as you said, this platoon with the ball pressure that Ulis can put on.
No question. And you're certainly going to have to watch your arms right now, because every offensive touch is being called a foul. So you have to play good. You have to play well offensively without fouling.
Texas with a 1-point lead, 7 minutes in.
The interior screening in Kentucky against this zone is really good.
Devin Booker a miss. Texas ball. Booker's a guy started off very cold and has heated up a lot in the last few games. And now here comes the blue platoon. And they change the T-shirts.
And now you get a fresh group of McDonald's All-Americans coming in. They've had a rest. They've been able to watch the game a little bit. And you've got the same unit on for Texas.
Ooh. And Felix could not handle the pass from Turner, and they turn it over. And the turnovers high for both teams here in the early going.
You don't see many teams, especially in college. You don't see many in the NBA that go 6'5", 6'5", 6'8" as your guards.
Corner 3 no for Aaron Harrison, and down with a good rebound in traffic is eBay.
There's a lot of traffic there, too.
How about Willie Cauley-Stein playing free safety, picking it off. And then a foul on the Longhorns. That's eBay, and that's his second. So Ridley's got 2, and eBay's got 2. And Texas is deep in the front court. They've got 5 legitimate bigs, but 2 of them already have 2 fouls.
Well, that's the problem. That takes away some of your aggressiveness, and it changes your substitution pattern. And you know that Kentucky's going to continue to go at those big guys and go inside. Connor Lambert's got height. He doesn't have quite the bulk as some of the other big guys for Texas.
And now Turner moves from the 4 spot really to the 5 spot, and he's got a foul as well in this game.
And where that can hurt the Longhorns is on the glass. Now this platoon, the blue platoon, more of a pressing unit. This team is putting some full court pressure on as well. They want to keep this pressure on for 40 minutes against Texas to wear out the Longhorns.
Yancey, the kick to the corner, the extra pass. And Barnett throws it away. 7th turnover committed by Texas. And a rejection at the rim by Turner. Leaks. And made a good decision to not go any deeper than he was going already.
Texas cannot find a good shot.
Yancey on the offensive glass.
If it weren't for second shot opportunities, it would be really difficult for Texas. I mean, but stopping Kentucky is one thing. It is really hard to score on this team. Their defense is phenomenal.
Poitras left it short.
I don't think Kentucky's a great offensive team. I think their offense has a long way to go. Their defense is already there.
Best in the country?
No question. I mean, who else can put this kind of pressure and throw this kind of length at you? And when you attack the basket, I mean, you're hearing footsteps every time you drive. And they're big feet.
And Karl Anthony Towns reaching in from behind just picked up his second foul.
Texas hanging tough because of their offensive rebounding. A nice drive and dish.
Up in New York when he was fouled and hit the deck. A guy who averages over 15 a game. And he's incredibly quick and fast with the ball. A guy who's got a great floater. He can finish in the lane, especially with his left hand. When you put him out there and you've got a much more potent Texas offense. And he's a guy who could break a defense down. When he kicks it, he can draw a lot of defenders to kick it.
Hoping to have him back for conference play, which, by the way, the Big 12 figures to be a very interesting league this year. Iowa State's a force right now. You know that, I mean, Kansas is going to get better. You know that. And they're the 10-time defending champs. So that's worth something. We saw Oklahoma down in the Bahamas, and they're a very strong team. Going to be an interesting league.
Well, Texas playing man-to-man, going under every screen.
Nice feed inside. Cauley-Stein, no. And a whistle and a foul. Another foul call going against the Longhorns as we send it over to Shannon.
Well, Dan, I did speak to Taylor today, and he told me January 3rd, you mentioned conference play. He has that circled as a potential comeback game. That's when he hopes to get back against Texas Tech. But he is using this time when he's not playing for the good. I mean, to get better. Communication. He actually sits next to Coach Barnes and works with the coaching staff. He's kind of a pseudo coach. He says it's helping him with communication with the coach. It's helping him see things that he never saw before. And he told me communication, everything is just helping across the board.
All right, Shannon, thank you. Meanwhile, on the court, more foul trouble for Texas. That was the second on Miles Turner. He goes to the bench. Ridley's on the bench with 2. And Ebay's come back into the game with 2. And the game's not even 10 minutes old.
And it takes away your aggressiveness as a defender. And Kentucky on the offensive end, the Wildcats have really struggled. Really struggled. Now, they've not rebounded well on the defensive end and given Texas some second chances, and the Longhorns have been very good on the offensive glass. But Kentucky's got to slow down on offense. They're not going to find openings by going too fast.
And now some contact down low between the two 44s, and it's Dakari Johnson of the Wildcats who is called for the foul. That'll be his second. So far, the guards are managing quite well in terms of staying out of foul trouble, but the bigs on both sides, it's been really physical down low.
Yeah, they've called a lot of the contact, and you know, it's impossible to have big bodies like that crashing into each other and not have contact. I mean, you're going to have that many bodies in a small space. It's going to be physical, but you have to cut the referee some slack in this thing.
Yeah. These officials do not officiate this kind of size very often, and I think they may be taken aback a little bit by it as well.
Meanwhile, a note for the Texas folks who are going to be down in the tournament in the Bahamas next year. When eBay throws a free throw that high in the ballroom down in Atlantis next year, he's going to scrape the ceiling. He might have to lower the arc on those free throws between now and the Bahamas next season. He got 1 of 2. It's Texas by 2 as we near the midway point of the first half here in Lexington.
2-3 zone.
And Poitras will lay it in to tie it up.
A nice pass by Dakari Johnson and a good cut to the basket by Alex Poitras. Kentucky's basically switching everything.
Cauley-Stein, as good as there is as a 7-footer. You talked about it earlier. To go out on the perimeter, move his feet and cover somebody.
He can guard anybody on the floor.
Yeah. Holmes got it in the air and knocks it down. How about the year that Jonathan Holmes is having?
Well, without him, where would Texas be? Their leading three-point shooter, an outstanding rebounder. I'm not sure you're going to find a harder worker. He's exhausted at the end of a game because he works so hard.
Rick Barnes speaking in glowing terms about both Holmes and Holland, how hard each of them works at all times. And boy, that's got to rub off very well on your younger players.
Well, in this zone, you get the ball into the middle to Willie Cauley-Stein, and Texas is not doing anything about it. They're not letting him shoot, but they're not trying to take it away from him.
And a 3-second violation on the Longhorns. The Jimmy V Classic comes your way Tuesday night on ESPN from Madison Square Garden in New York City. A couple of great matchups, Villanova and Illinois in the first game, and then Indiana and Louisville in the second game. The Jimmy V Classic Tuesday night on the home court of college hoops. How about Jay Wright's team so far this year?
Very good. Their guards are terrific. Ryan Arcidiacono is a really good guard. Good pass.
Shot was altered. Still loose.
Foul on Willie Cauley-Stein. Willie Cauley-Stein needed to go directly to the rim. He's kind of jackknifing in there and double clutching. He's got to go right to the rim. He's not going to get a foul if he double clutches. Like, if you try to avoid that block shot, no referee is going to call a foul. Boy, you had better be a man going in there trying to grab a rebound. Might be advisable to wear a mouthpiece and a helmet.
Well, there are 30 NBA scouts here tonight, and they are seeing a lot of players on both sides with the size and the ability to play at the next level.
Well, that's why they're here.
Andrew Harrison. And eBay skies for the rebound, and now it's Lammert underneath, called for the foul.
These referees are going to be out of breath soon. Blowing their whistle on every possession.
You know, Lammert is 6'9", 240, and he looks like a wing out there right now compared to some of the other bodies on the floor.
And for Kentucky, it's not just their big guys. Their guards have tremendous size. You know, Alex Poitras is 6'8", and he is strong, and he looks tiny out there.
John Calipari just did something he hasn't done very often so far this year, and he mixed up the platoons as he brought in Marcus Lee and Dakari Johnson. So they're both playing with the blue group right now. And again, as we mentioned earlier, he is not married to it, although as I say that, here come the other three members of the white platoon to come into the game. Holmes left it short. Aaron Harrison with a Euro step, can't finish, and Lammert down with a rebound. Kentucky's getting some pretty good looks, 6 feet and in, but haven't been able to knock him down.
Well, they're trying to push the ball up the court, and I think the speed game that they're trying to play is a good idea, but if it's not there and they have to run half-court offense, I think they've been going too fast in their half-court offense.
Lammert, a good pick and pop guy, also a good passer, actually leads the team in assists this year. Shot clock winding down to 7. Yancey's got to make the play here. Lammert will put it up from 3 and drain it. Connor Lammert now 6 for 16 shooting threes on the season.
He threw Marcus Lee away from the basket, and the lefty is one of the best passers among big guys in the Big 12. Also showing that he can shoot it. Now he's going to draw Marcus Lee even further away, open up that lane a little bit.
You like the effectiveness of the zone?
It's been very effective because it's making Kentucky stand around. They're not able to drive gaps, and they really need to do that.
Poitras with a jump hook. And the offensive rebound for Johnson. Andrew Harrison back off to Dakari Johnson, and he's fouled. Timeout on the floor. John Calipari said he wanted somebody to give his team a battle to see how they would respond. He is getting it tonight from Connor Lammert and the Longhorns. Texas with a 5-point lead.
16 rebounds. Karl Anthony Towns, 17 points, 16 rebounds. Willie Cauley-Stein, 16 points, 11 rebounds.
You know, the platoon system allows these guys to go all out while they're in there, get a break, and they're more productive per minute than they would be otherwise. And the other thing, Dan, John Calipari doesn't talk about this. One thing that this system does, too, is it hides some deficiencies. Like, these are not 10 perfect players. They've got deficiencies. And this helps hide it, some deficiencies that would show up if they played 30, 35 minutes a game.
Johnson misses them both. And then a foul going against Kentucky. Is that Cauley-Stein? No, it's on Lyles. That will be his third. He becomes the first player on either side to pick up 3 fouls in the game.
What that does is allows, even though Prince Ebay, not a very good free throw shooter. Texas gets to score with no defense. Where Kentucky has really struggled on the offensive end. They are 3 of 16 from the field.
Let's check in again with Shannon.
Well, Coach Calipari walked over to his guys during that last time out, just kind of shaking his head, Dan. He said, it's all about fight. It's all about energy. He said, the easy way out is to not fight. What are you guys going to do?
Jay, let me ask you this. As eBay misses a couple, Lammert with yet another offensive rebound. That's 7 offensive rebounds for Texas in the game. Right now, John Calipari has mixed up the platoons. It's no longer blue or white. As Lammert gets a clean look but misses the 3. There's another offensive rebound.
The ball is bouncing all over the place. I mean, it was hard to get that defensive rebound off of Prince Ebay's miss from the free throw line. I mean, the ball hit the ground. It's a difficult. This is a difficult game to play in, and that's one of the reasons Kentucky is not playing well, especially in the offensive end. They're not doing anything on the defensive glass. So changing up the platoons, he's got to make something happen.
How good is Tyler Ulis' defense?
And Holland has to force one up at the end of the shot clock. And here come the Wildcats.
Ulis is a terrific point guard. Always in control. He's an outstanding shooter. He's well over 50% from 3.
He's all of 5'9", 155.
And the ball moves when he's in there. Good pass.
Towns. They can't buy one right now.
They're not getting great shots. I mean, that was a good shot. They haven't really been able to drive into gaps. And I think that's the next thing for them. They've got to drive that ball into a gap and attack this zone. Here's passive.
Great look. And Holmes will normally knock that one down, and instead we've got a foul going against the Longhorns. Meanwhile, Kentucky at the offensive end, they've got 3 field goals in this game. 3 in 14.5 minutes.
It's really, in a way, amazing they're only down 5. But their defense is so difficult to score. If they had taken care of the defensive glass, they would have had to play so much defense.
Willie Cauley-Stein at the line. Lots of fouls, double bonus both ways. TCU looks to clinch a share of the Big 12 championship and keep pace of the playoff race in a critical battle against Iowa State tomorrow, noon Eastern, on ABC. Any difficulty from your perspective when you look at the lineup Kentucky has out there now, a mix of the 2 groups? These guys have rarely played together because it's always been blue against white, even in practice.
Yeah, but they've switched it up here and there, so it's not that big of a deal.
I mean, these guys can play with each other. It's not that hard. You got to give Texas a lot of credit with the way they've handled this game, especially on the defensive end.
They've forced Kentucky to take challenge shots. They've not let them get to the rim. They have essentially not let them dunk. So they've not gotten the drives that they normally get where they can pitch it up to the rim.
Holland fouled by Booker on his drive to the basket. So DeMarcus Holland heads to the free throw line for 2. Texas, just like Kentucky, is 7-0. They went up to New York in the 2K Classic at Madison Square Garden. Beat Iowa by 14. Beat Cal by 16. They also beat Connecticut by 1. That was without Isaiah Taylor. They've been playing without one of their best players for the last 4 games. They're coming off a 10-point win over UT Arlington a few days ago. Booker, a deep one. And a nice job by Lammert on the glass.
And it's been 1 and out.
The offensive rebounding of Kentucky has been negated by Texas. Texas is getting really good blockouts.
Leaks in the game. Haven't seen him in a while for Texas.
Nice defensive job by Devin Booker, not letting Yancey get the ball off that handoff.
Holmes over Cauley-Stein. And it is Kentucky ball.
Well, look what they had to do to get a defensive rebound.
Whoa, and a challenge at the rim. And Holmes is going to get called for a flagrant foul. And Rick Barnes is incensed. He's saying he made a play on the ball. And the officials will go to the monitor right now to have a look. And for Holmes, it'll be his second. And Rick Barnes still looking for an explanation. And keep in mind, he obviously hasn't seen a replay. He just knows what he thinks he saw with live action. He'll get a chance to look at it later.
Karl Anthony Towns is some kind of ball player. Very skilled young man. He's going to be a great player down the road. He's really good now, but the longer he works at this game, he's going to get better and better.
This is a hard question for me to ask you, but of the 10 guys who get regular minutes for Kentucky, does he have the most long-term upside in your opinion?
Yeah, I think he would. Trey Lyles has quite a bit as well, but I think Karl Anthony Towns is the best player.
He's got that too. And he's wide open off the inbounds play. And what a momentum shift there. 4 quick points for Kentucky. And a quick shot for Texas that won't stay down. And Towns with a rebound. Ulis. Tie game. Timeout. A 6-0 run lasting all of 21 seconds of game time.
Now for Texas, it's about handling pressure.
And a lot of ball handlers in there for the Longhorns right now with Felix and Yancey and Holland. But a pass goes astray. Felix the turnover. Kentucky looking for the lead.
A lot of ball handlers for Texas, but not a lot of scorers. With Jonathan Holmes out, this is not a powerful scoring lineup.
Both coaches perhaps doing what they can to protect those who are in foul trouble. There are a number of players on both sides with 2, and Trey Lyles of the Wildcats has 3.
Sticking with the 2-3 zone.
Cauley-Stein. Kentucky leads. Yancey. And I don't know how anybody can hear a whistle out there. There was a foul before the block, I believe. I think it's Booker. Crowd doesn't like it. Timeout on the floor.
Kentucky on a major run since that flagrant foul. And the ball going inside to Willie Cauley-Stein against the zone. Gets the
huge and take care of the ball. 2 out of 3. They need to eliminate those turnovers.
All right, Shannon, thank you. So there is some foul trouble in this game. A couple of players with 3 fouls for Kentucky, Lyles and Dakari Johnson, but they're both on the floor to start the second half as the white platoon is out there. John Calipari, at least for now, back to the platoon system. Holmes, no, kept alive by Ridley, but it is Kentucky ball, and Johnson is fouled by Lammert. And that's an early 3rd foul here just seconds into the second half on Connor Lammert.
Connor Lammert had a really good first half, knocking down a couple of open shots off of penetration. He had 6 rebounds, played the backside of that zone very effectively.
Oh, forgive me. Lammert had his arm up in the air as if he were accepting the foul, but it's actually on Holmes. So it's Jonathan Holmes who picks up the 3rd. And Jay goes to the bench 15 seconds into the second half.
That's a huge play right there for Kentucky to get Jonathan Holmes out of the game.
They go smaller as Yancey is back in. Ulis steps in. I don't know if Lammert was trying to trick the officials into giving him the foul instead of Holmes, but it is on Holmes. And Dakari Johnson gives Kentucky the lead.
Well, Tyler Ulis passed up an open shot, and as a result, wound up getting his team a better shot.
Felix, no. Cauley-Stein the rebound. There were 7 ties and 7 lead changes in the first half. Very physical, hard fought. Cauley-Stein left it short on the front of the rim, but he got fouled down low.
Well, Yancey got him with the body. The ball is moving a little bit more effectively early in the second half. The nice interior pass by Dakari Johnson to the cutting Willie Cauley-Stein. You know, whether the penetration is off the dribble or off the pass, you've got to penetrate this zone.
And Miles Turner back into the game for Felix. So Rick Barnes already 2 deep into his bench here, just a minute into the second half. And Barnes obviously was not a big fan of that length of the court drive by Javon Feliz. Turner played only 5 minutes in the first half, picking up a couple of quick fouls.
Yeah, those fouls took him out of the ball game.
And a quick 4-0 run for the Wildcats to start the second half.
Kentucky sticking man-to-man throughout this game.
Yancey turns it over. Boy, the unbelievable reach and range of the 7-footer Willie Cauley-Stein.
And his ability to move his feet. The fact that a 7-footer could guard LaDante Henton of Providence, who is really an outstanding player. The lefty's a big-time scorer. He couldn't get a shot off. He's 1 of 8 against Willie Cauley-Stein.
Cauley-Stein playing with the white platoon. No Marcus Lee in there right now as Trey Lyles knocks down the baseline jumper. And a timeout taken by Rick Barnes. 6-0 run Kentucky out of the chute here in the second half.
Florida.
That this is just the 4th time ever, Jay, that Kentucky at 7-0 or better has played another program at 7-0 or better. The last time it happened, 2011, at Assembly Hall in Bloomington, the Christian Watford shot to win the game as Indiana beat Kentucky. But it's a big-time matchup here. 2 undefeated and highly ranked teams. And Kentucky's looked very good here to start the second half. Lammert misses an open jumper.
When Lammert has been open, he's drawing big guys away from the bucket.
Booker. Ball's on the deck. Lyles has it.
Looked like Booker rushed that shot just a bit, and he's really been shooting well. Last 5 games, he was 14 of 25 from 3. And he's the 2nd leading scorer on this Kentucky team.
Nobody on the team, because of the lack of big minutes for anybody, nobody's scoring even 11 points per game for Kentucky. Ulis wide right, and Lammert down with a rebound.
Texas went back to man-to-man. They're going underneath every screen. They're going to force Kentucky to prove it over the top.
And 2 Kentucky players swarming Holland because Yancey was back out of his own basket trying to put his shoe back on. So they tried to take advantage of that, but they end up committing a foul. And it's Booker. Texas led by as many as 6. This is the biggest lead of the game for Kentucky.
Texas really hasn't been able to run any offense and get what they want.
Tough shot. Kind of a fadeaway 3 by the freshman Turner. But another offensive rebound. Yancey will put it up and miss the 3. Spin move by Ulis. Extra pass. And the slam for Lyles. How about the dish from Dakari Johnson? Look how pumped up he is now on defense.
Kentucky off the difficult shot, getting a run out, and Tyler Ulis passes the ball ahead. Usually when you pass it to a 7-footer for a finish, but a terrific touch pass by Dakari Johnson to Trey Lyles.
Johnson playing with all kinds of energy right now. 10-0 Kentucky run in the second half.
Again, with all this talent and pressure, sooner or later, it's going to get to you.
Another steal by Cauley-Stein. And a foul before the shot on Holland. eBay Holmes returning. Holmes with 3 fouls. Well, the 2 fouls on Holmes, the flagrant in the first half and the personal here at the beginning of the second half, as you see the Holland foul. Maybe the 2 biggest plays of the game.
Yeah, good shot fake there by Devin Booker. He's such a good standstill shooter. When he eyes that rim and gets a shot fake, the defense is going to go for it. Now to the out-of-bounds side, 2-3 zone.
And Turner down with a rebound.
The rebounds are grabbed above the rim in this game. Almost being guarded by Devin Booker.
That catch a lot further out than Texas would normally make it. And that elbow set that they run.
Now Kentucky's contesting every dribble and every pass. They have really stepped it up at both ends of the floor into the outset of the second half. It was tied at 26 at the break. And the Wildcats have
one of the most feisty, and speaking with this Kentucky team, they really give him a lot of credit to their success in the second half of these games. He comes in, he starts with that white platoon. He is relentless, and he does not let the other team get into any kind of flow.
All right, Shannon, thank you. Shot clock running down, and it's a violation on the Longhorns. As good as Kentucky's defense is normally, Jay, they've taken it up a notch here in the second half.
No question. Texas has not gotten an open look. They've not gotten a bucket. They're 0 for 6 now in the second half. And I'll tell you, I think Shannon's exactly right about Tyler Ulis, but Willie Cauley-Stein has been spectacular in this game. This game has been nothing but a fist fight, but he has rebounded. He's got 4 steals. He's defended multiple positions, and he's been good offensively.
And he's staying on the floor. The other 4 players switched, but Lee didn't come into the game. Cauley-Stein remains in the game for the work that he's done at both ends tonight. A foul on Poitras, his second. John Calipari said it before the game, said it all week long, said it to Shannon walking off the court at the end of the first half. This is exactly the kind of game he feels his team needs. They've got an interesting month. They're still going to play North Carolina, UCLA, and Louisville before the new year.
Well, they're going to get what they need in the non-conference. The question is, are they going to get what they need in conference play?
And a foul away from the ball on eBay, his third. And Rick Barnes well out on the court, now walking back toward the bench. It has been a very frustrating 5 minutes or so for Coach Barnes.
Well, it's hard to get any continuity in your offense when, one, you're being defended by Kentucky, and then the second part of it is the number of whistles. 2-3 zone. Towns is in the middle, and he's a good passer when he catches it.
And Holmes is up on the top right now. That's how big Texas is. They've also got Lammert, Turner, and eBay in the game. There's big, maybe bigger than Kentucky is right now, with the exception of the point guard spot.
It's so difficult to go against this Kentucky defense. They're so long.
Great dish. Penetration and dish, and eBay slams it home, and the assist to Holland.
I still think that's one of the only spots that this defense is vulnerable, and that's attacking it off the dribble and then dishing it off. It's going to be hard to get those drop-offs near the basket, but you may be able to kick it out and get an open shot.
Andrew Harrison slips inside and lays it in.
Well, with his size and finishing ability, he should drive it even more. And I know John Calipari wants him to start pushing it more in transition so that Andrew Harrison can play ahead of the defense, get the ball up the court, and get more layups. Calipari thinks his team needs to get more transition layups. His teams are going to make them play 5-on-5. That's what they want to do, is make it a half-court game.
Deep position there for eBay, but just too many Kentucky players between him and the basket. 2-on-1. Cauley-Stein from Aaron Harrison, and the lead grows to 12. Holmes. And another foul on eBay, his 4th.
Willie Cauley-Stein has been the player of this game. He's defended all over the floor. He has run the floor. He's gotten steals, and he's played as well as any Kentucky player on the offensive end. And it's awfully nice when Aaron Harrison can come down. You throw it up anywhere, and Cauley-Stein and several of his teammates can go get it and finish it. Boy, and that's a well-earned rest for Willie Cauley-Stein.
Texas in the zone. Absolutely nothing DeMarcus Holland could do trying to defend that 2-on-1.
That basket on Texas's offensive end, that rim has been absolutely covered up. If it weren't for that drop-off to Prince eBay, there has been nothing for Texas.
The only 2 points the Longhorns have here in the second half.
There's too much passing it around. You got to get into the teeth of this defense.
Good cut. Poitras couldn't finish, but Towns can.
The penetration forces the defense to move, and you're going to be able to get some offensive boards.
And now it's Ridley picking up the foul, his third.
A number of these turnovers have been offensive fouls. And this game has gotten away from Texas in a hurry. 1 bucket in the second half for Texas in 8 minutes, and that has been it.
Towns too strong off the glass.
Texas trying to run. A good job by Kentucky in getting back. Texas's big guys are having a hard time getting position down low with all that size around the basket.
Holmes and Poitras. And a block called on Poitras. His third. John Calipari mocking the call as we go to immediate timeout. It has been all, and I mean all, Wildcats here in the second half, outscoring Texas 16-2 to lead by 14.
Kevin Pangos. Pangos has been terrific all season long. He can really shoot it, and he's healthy now. He had that foot problem last year that made his year really difficult.
Boy, it's been just an excessive number of fouls. A ton of fouls on all the big guys. Not to say they weren't warranted, but a ton of fouls on the big guys in this game. That's the 4th on Lyles, so he'll leave and Poitras will come back in. The guards have managed to stay out of it, but we've had big guy after big guy going back to his respective bench during the game telling their coach, what am I supposed to do? Ridley falling out of bounds, and now Ulis takes it out of bounds with him, and it is Kentucky ball. Must have hit Holland. As you'll get a good look right here.
Well, we said Holland was stepping out of bounds, but actually it was Ulis touching the ball out of bounds. That was a bad call.
Yeah, should be Texas ball.
And the referee was right there and totally missed it.
Booker wide open. Wow.
Cauley-Stein again. He has been spectacular. They give it to Towns. I thought the Cauley-Stein was up there.
You know you're having a good night when you can't decide which of your 2 big guys got the putback. And another foul. This one on Poitras, his 4th.
Poitras had his arm around the postman. You know, and in this game, that's the equivalent of jaywalking.
Well, one thing that Kentucky's done extraordinarily well this year is score in the paint. They have outscored the opposition 39-16 on average in the paint in each game. And although they didn't get much going in the paint in the first half, they are certainly getting the job done in the second half. As we have yet another foul.
That one on Tyler Ulis.
Yeah, his first.
Kentucky had to just start switching some of those things, and we're going to have to fight through so many of the screens.
There'll be a lot of free throws here in the second half. Ridley, double teamed. Nice look from Holmes. Holland is open, and he's really worked on that shot. His free throw shooting and his outside shooting, Jay, much improved from a year ago.
And it's that second pass, Dan, out of the double team. 2 were playing one on Ridley. He passed it out to Holmes, and Holmes made that second pass. That's where you're going to find an opening.
The league's pushing it, and now puts the brakes on. And again, a foul on the inside, and this time it's Towns. That'll be his 3rd. And that will put Texas in the bonus. So both teams in the bonus with 10:35 to go. So Poitras and Lyles have 4 for Kentucky. eBay has 4 for Texas, and there are a number of others with 3.
Turner has done a really good job early on in this season. He's had some big games against some of the lesser opponents that Texas has played. Hadn't really had that caliber game. Towns is in early on that one, but Turner made it anyway.
In and out for Ulis. Rebound Turner.
Ulis missed that, but it was a really good drive. That penetration is available.
Ridley, shovel pass to Turner, rejected, and that might have been Cauley Stein.
Cauley Stein has blocked 3 shots now. He's got 4 steals. He's been outstanding.
Boy, a quick set.
Signed by Mr. Durant. You can see his signature right there on the side of those Starberries. Miles told me today it wasn't always Texas. He actually thought about going out of state, but when he went on his recruiting visit, it just felt like the right fit.
I asked him what other players he likes in the NBA, Jay, and he mentioned guys like Tristan Thompson, LaMarcus Aldridge, Dexter Pittman. Like, it's okay to like guys who didn't go to Texas, too. But Miles Turner is, obviously, he's a company guy.
Well, a lot of guys, I hate to break this to you, but a lot of guys like Kevin Durant, they don't turn out to be quite as good as Miles Turner. He has some talent, too. It's not just who he likes.
He just picked up his 3rd foul. And a guy like so many big men today, inside, outside skills.
Well, both he and Karl Towns have that, and then some. I think that Turner is more of a back-to-the-basket guy than Towns. Both of them can play with their backs to the basket, but I think Towns is a little more advanced in his ability to face up and knock down a perimeter shot right now.
1 of 2 for Johnson, rebound Lyles.
Kentucky's doing a lot of interior screening with their big guys, trying to, there it is, the screen by Poitras, and that's a good pass out.
Andrew Harrison, air ball on the jumper. Poitras gets it back and finishes.
But how strong was that?
Turner for 3. And Lyles with another rebound. Andrew Harrison into traffic, kicks it to his brother. Johnson stripped, still loose, and still Kentucky's. Floater, no good. And now Kentucky really starting to assert itself on the offensive glass.
Again, how about that push initially by Andrew Harrison? That opened up everything, especially the shot for his brother Aaron and the offensive glass. Just that really strong push in transition of him putting pressure on the rim. Good pass.
And Poitras fouled from behind by Turner. The 4th on Miles Turner.
Texas is awfully difficult to play against. This is one of the best defensive teams in the country. Their size is really impressive and at times intimidating. And I know Kentucky can't feel great about the way they played on the offensive end, but to have shot the ball as poorly as Kentucky has shot it, and to be up 12 in this kind of game says a lot about the quality of Kentucky's defense. This is one hard team to score on.
In the first half was the dominance on the offensive glass by Texas, and the story has been reversed to a certain extent here in the second half. Both big, deep, athletic, physical, great rebounding teams. Kentucky really getting a lot more action on the glass here in the second half.
And don't you feel that there has been a cumulative effect of the 10 guys that Kentucky can throw at you? I mean, this is a well-conditioned Texas team, and these guys are going to be exhausted after this one.
Texas has played 9 tonight, some limited because of foul trouble. Felix buries the 3, 49-38.
That's the pass, the penetration, the kick out, and the second pass. And we've talked about that before. You haven't seen it all that often because it's difficult to get that initial penetration.
Now a steal by Holland. And he's got a chance for 3.
Well, how about that play? Felix knocking down the 3 and then getting the turnover and taking it all the way and strongly going to the basket. DeMarcus Holland puts Texas right back in this thing.
Texas has scored 5 quick points. DeMarcus Holland is now at the free throw line looking to complete a 3-point play.
Holland is just a warrior. And that steal and bucket he made, that was a big time play for Texas.
He's into double figures with 10. Polley.
Well, this is a big possession for both teams, but for Texas, if they can get another stop here and a score, that would put some real game pressure on Kentucky. They haven't felt it since the first half.
Andrew Harrison probing on the baseline. Johnson. Close out there by Holland. Shot clock down to single digits. Booker baseline rises up for a tough 15-footer. Johnson misses on the follow. And we have a held ball and a wrestling match between a couple of big fellas in Johnson and Ridley. And the possession arrow will keep it with Kentucky.
Well, Takari Johnson got away with a bit of a push on this to go the ball. I mean, that's the way you want to see guys go after it. Went after it with both hands, and two strong guys just battling for the ball. That's a. Do you get 2 points for a takedown like that, or just one?
Ridley he's a big man to go flying like he just did. But again, there is NBA size on both teams. And that's one of the reasons why there are 30 NBA scouts here at this game tonight. And another steal by Holland.
At the length and the active hands of Texas knocking that away. Boy, Dakari Johnson was wide open, and Lyles missed him early. You got to get that ball inside right away. You cannot hesitate.
Basket here would be huge for the Longhorns. Ridley, and then over the back. There's an easy call. Who is that? That's Holmes picking up his fourth. Boy, Felix was wide open beyond the three-point line, and Ridley just had so many guys around him, Jay couldn't see him.
He's so busy jostling for position and going one-on-one against another gigantic body. And you can understand how a guy could miss something, but when you don't have an initial move right away, you got to kick that thing out.
So free throws coming for Lyles, the freshman from Indianapolis, the Mr. Basketball in the state of Indiana last year.
He's a good free throw shooter. He struggled from the three-point line early in the season, but he can knock down free throws.
Misses the front end. Kentucky is giving Texas a chance to get right back into it.
And Texas seems to have the pace that it wants. And the crowd kind of taken out of this momentarily.
Ridley, bounce pass back to Lambert, kick to a wide open Holmes, and an air ball. The offensive rebound for Holland. They got, now the shot clock reset. I don't know why the shot clock reset. Felix will put it up, and down with a rebound, Kentucky.
Whenever Texas drives and kicks it, they put Kentucky into rotation rebounding. All of a sudden, you're blocking out somebody that is not your initial guarding assignment. And Kentucky's not done a good job in rotation rebounding.
Johnson from the free throw line. He's had a very solid night as well.
Well, that was a big turnaround.
Five and a half to go. The lead's at 10. Another foul away from the ball.
Texas just ran a little set where they could get Jonathan Holmes curling off the post. And he was just grabbed as he was trying to make that curl cut to get open inside.
Second on Pauly Stein. Towns and Ulis return for the Wildcats as John Calipari has gone completely away from the platoon system here as he did for much of the first half as well.
Well, there's 5:21 to go in this thing. And Texas's players, they're in really good shape, but they're tired right now. And not to say that Kentucky's not got a little bit of fatigue, but they've got an awful lot of bodies, and they're not as tired as Texas is. And you wonder how that's going to affect these two teams down the stretch.
Two big free throws for Holmes, who has had his struggles from the field tonight. 8-point game.
And Miles Turner in the middle of that zone, so you got a freshman that you can try to attack. He's not quite as bulky inside.
Ulis shovels it up to the corner to Lyles. And Lyles will be shooting free throws. DeMarcus Holland called for the foul.
A really nice shot fake by Trey Lyles, the freshman from Indianapolis. He struggled from the perimeter thus far this season. Coming into the game, he was 3 of 16 from 3. But he plays with such a nice pace. He's got a perimeter game. He can go down into the post. He's a good rebounder. Very skilled player. Free throw shooting was a real sore spot for Kentucky last season. They've got some better free throw shooters this season, but they still have to step in there and make them. Especially in a game like this where it's so tough to get a bucket. Turner was in early.
Less than 5 minutes to go.
Turner had his hand in the lane, falling into the lane as Lyles was shooting that shot. Holmes has to get the ball early.
Count it!
Jonathan Holmes is the top three-point shooter for this Texas team. He has played more on the perimeter, but now taking the freshman Trey Lyles into the post. He got one-on-one in the post. Nobody came over, at least not early enough. Willie Cauley-Stein just reaching in, and Towns came way late to try to block it.
Third on Willie Cauley-Stein.
That was a huge play by Jonathan Holmes.
And all of a sudden, they can get it down to 5. And they do. Ridley coming back into the game for Texas. Johnson back into the game for Kentucky. This one is far from over.
And how about Texas hanging in there? They could have packed up their tent and gone back to Austin.
What were they down? 14 early in the second half.
And it looked grim.
Yep. They scored only 2 points in the first 8 minutes of this half.
Now all of a sudden Kentucky's standing around again. That's just not a good shot.
It's a good rebound though. Cauley-Stein having himself a night. 16 for Willie Cauley-Stein. This is the first half of our doubleheader tonight for you here on ESPN. Florida and Kansas still to come. Tipping 15 minutes from now as Dakari Johnson picks up his 4th foul.
Texas is doing a great job of posting up hard and looking into the post. They're screening for each other, and they're giving Texas an opportunity to, or giving Kentucky an opportunity to foul. And they're giving the referees an opportunity to blow the whistle, and they have been taking them up on it.
And Rick Barnes will use a timeout. 4:01 to go. A couple of weeks ago.
Both those teams still trying to find themselves and find their identity. Yeah, Kansas has been playing some different lineups game to game.
Ridley bricks the first. One of the problems for Texas tonight, so many of the big guy fouls committed by Kentucky have put the big guys from Texas on the line. And we know that eBay struggles. Ridley's a better shooter than that.
It's been the non-free throw shooting big guys.
Yeah. 1 of 2. So he made the correction. And it's a 6-point game. 4 minutes to go.
The defensive rebound is gigantic here for Texas.
Johnson, nice pass to the corner. Defensive rebound.
And Jonathan Holmes got away with a gigantic push in order to get that defensive rebound. He pushed Dakari Johnson 5 or 6 feet.
Well, bodies flying all over the place. This time it's Cauley-Stein and Holmes. And Holmes might have just gotten.
It looks like there's some moisture.
Perspiration, yeah. And Holmes coming up limping a little bit as he was trying to fight his way through a couple of Wildcats. So we'll take the under 4 media timeout with Texas hanging in there. 50. And now here, Kentucky is leading by 6. Take a look at some of the contact down low.
Watch Jonathan Holmes here push off Willie Cauley-Stein to get that rebound. This is the kind of game this has been. I mean, it has been a physical fist fight. And you have got to be prepared for a pull-in. Great steal by Cauley-Stein to respond. After he got pushed, he just kept playing. That was a great play by Willie Cauley-Stein.
Jay, that's his 5th steal. A 7-footer with 5 steals.
He had steals, blocked shots, a double-double. I mean, he's been everywhere.
16 points, 11 rebounds, 5 steals, 3 blocks for Willie Cauley-Stein.
And a partridge in a pear tree. He's got everything.
And he's played more than anybody has played in a game for Kentucky all season. As Andrew Harrison nails a three-pointer, the first 3 of the night for Kentucky. Huge.
Look at the pressure that Ulis can put on the ball.
Felix drives around him and lays it in. And it's down to 7.
Texas did a great job of handling pressure, but look all they had to do to get a score.
A couple of 7-0 teams.
Aaron Harrison, known as the better shooter of the Harrisons, but just if you go under on that ball screen, Harrison pulls up for it, and Texas has been going under on everything because they would rather give up an open shot than the penetration that would open up the offensive glass, open up a lob, give Kentucky a dunk.
Shot clock at 2. And down with a one-handed rebound is Holmes, and the foul is called on Poythress. And that's going to foul Alex Poythress out of the game.
Holmes has just been so strong all game long. He's had to sit for some foul trouble. But that is quite a wrestling match those two had going on. It's just who got caught pushing last, basically, because everybody's pushing.
More college basketball action coming your way Tuesday night from Madison Square Garden in New York City. It's the Jimmy V Classic with Villanova and Illinois in the first game at 7 o'clock Eastern time, and then Indiana and Louisville in the nightcap at 9 o'clock Eastern. The Jimmy V Classic Tuesday night on the home court of college hoops. 2 free throws coming for Holmes. Poythress fouled out. A number of players with 4. 3 of them on the court right now playing with 4 fouls. And it's back down to 5.
One thing Texas doesn't want to do here is foul.
Timeout, John Calipari. Rick Barnes playing on the road without one of his best players, the injured.
But right now, you would think that with a 5-point deficit and points being so difficult to get, that Rick Barnes is going to have to play man-to-man at some point. I'm not sure he's reached that point. That I think he can still play zone now. But you get one stop, now they're coming out the trap.
Florida and Kansas still to come tonight. They're tipping off about 4 minutes from now in Lawrence.
That initial trap, a good idea. Take a little bit of time off. You don't have to guard this as long.
Cauley-Stein, the man of the night for the Wildcats. And draws the foul. If it's Turner, he's done for the night, and it is. The freshman will foul out, and Cauley-Stein will shoot a pair of free throws.
Well, in replacing Turner, Rick Barnes can take a little bit of time. He's effectively going to use this as a timeout.
And that gives Willie Cauley-Stein the ball inside, get to the rim. But you can't leave a guy like Jonathan Holmes. You've got to watch Holmes and Felix, because you don't want to give up an open 3 to Felix or a guy like Connor Lambert just because there's penetration.
Cauley-Stein now 7 for 9 from the line tonight.
Well, that's one of the reasons, Dan, that you like having a junior come back. You have an older player. Willie Cauley-Stein's a much better player now than he was a year ago.
2-possession game. Felix. Kentucky ball.
Texas has to put on full court pressure. And the one guy on the floor that you would like to foul is Dakari Johnson. He's probably not going to touch it until it's a finished situation anyway.
Into the final minute, the seconds continue to tick away.
Kentucky's got to get in trouble. They got a timeout.
At this point, Texas is better off just playing D than fouling now. Lob to the rim. And who else should slam it home but the best guy on the court tonight, Willie Cauley-Stein.
Texas had to come out and chase that allowed a driving line. When Andrew Harrison drives in, that means that Texas has to help uphill. And as they have done in most games this season, they just lob it up. And that's elbows at the rim to dunk it for Willie Cauley-Stein. And Kentucky's going to win this ball game, but they're going to win it. Their defense has won this game. In the second half, their defense was still stifling throughout, but it was absolutely stifling in the second half.
A game, don't you think, that could be of enormous value to both of these teams heading forward this season?
No question. And to have this kind of physical challenge, because not many teams in this country are going to provide the physical beating that Texas can provide. I mean, Kentucky looked in the mirror, big guy to big guy, and they answered the call.
Holland for three. And another foul by Ridley.
There's your player of the game right there, Willie Cauley-Stein.
Ridley's fouled out. And Cauley-Stein making another trek to the free throw line.
All these bodies, all these big, talented Kentucky bodies take its toll.
I think Texas has to feel like it was in a 15-round prize fight in this thing. They're going to need a few days off just to recover.
They have just tipped off at Kansas. We'll get you there within seconds of this one ending here in Lexington. Cauley-Stein now 20 points, 12 rebounds, 5 steals, and 3 blocks.
Boy, the defensive show that he has put on in the last few games, but especially against Providence and Texas, with the varied players he's guarded, the numbers he's put up, I think you got to put him right up there for National Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, it's awfully early, but who's been a better defender than he's been?
And a huge ovation as he leads the game. Holmes from the corner. And we have a late foul on Holmes, and that's going to foul him out of the game with just 1.6 seconds to go. Well, a win here for the SEC in the SEC Big 12 Challenge, and they needed one as the Big 12 came in tonight with a 4-1 lead. This will make it 4-2, with 2 more games coming tonight and 2 more tomorrow.
You know, the Big 12 is the most balanced league in the country. Top to bottom, you have good teams, really unbelievable coaches, but really, really good basketball teams.
Texas will fall to 7-1. And they'll go home for a while. Their next few games at home. Kentucky's got some big games coming up in the month of December. But they can hang their hat on this one. They are still undefeated with a 63-51 win over the Longhorns here at Rupp Arena tonight. Florida, Kansas is coming up. For Jay Billis, Shannon Spick, and our entire crew, I'm Dan Shulman saying